These are the best 5 wins of the Richmond Football Club in the 21st century. Joining me is Walkley Award winner, Gold Logie winner, smartest man in the world, Waleed Ali. Why do you go for Richmond?
My brother made me. Yeah, I hated him until 2017. I see you're not wearing the shirt I gave you?
No, it's like the Venom symbiote in Spider-Man. It just doesn't fit and go on, and it burns.
It's a universal sort of a shirt anyway. This will be fun. For me anyway.
What are they? Number 5.
Round 22, 2019, Richmond versus West Coast. And this is actually personally probably my favourite ever home and away game. I just know it won't be. It's just not the greatest one. You know what I mean?
You're playing to the masses.
Yeah, that's right. But it'll be very hard for people to understand, I think, just how precarious our 2019 season was, because we win the grand final and we win it by like
a ridiculous amount
points.
Yeah.
But we were gone. We had so many injuries. I distinctly remember listening to a footy podcast, and one of the pundits saying Richmond should just scrap this season, not make the finals, and rebuild. It was absolute chaos. And
West Coast were good, reigning premiers.
Were really good. And also the thing is, they'd beaten us the previous year in Perth and really beaten us.
Okay.
So even when we were good, we never quite were sure about West Coast. And we go into this home stretch of the season, and it's basically like we're going to have to win all these games to make the top 4. And I just couldn't see us doing it. And West Coast come out and they just punch us in the face in that first quarter. And at quarter time, it's 3-7. And it's just like, this feels all over, really. And the game changed. West Coast were playing that, high marking, precision footy, and just our chaos game just started to take over, but we didn't get them until the very end. In that last quarter, we kicked 5 goals. They kicked 4 goals. Hugely thrilling last quarter, and we win it by 6 points. The weather was slightly wet towards the end. It just had everything that made you feel like an epic. But that last moment, that last goal, Brandon Ellis picking up the ball on the boundary line, handballing it to Jack, who snaps around the corner, I think under a little bit of pressure. And it was just like, we've got there. We've sealed this thing. We might be in the top 4. And every flag that Richmond won in that period, we won from 3rd. So we didn't at any stage streak the competition.
Yeah.
Like the one year we didn't win the flag. So in so many ways, this win is symbolic of everything that made those 3 premierships possible.
Number 4.
I'm going with round 18, 2015, Hawthorn versus Richmond.
Okay.
This is an unusual one, I will admit, but it was a heightened moment because this was amidst the Adam Goodes booing saga.
Okay.
And Richmond came out and made the statement that they were going to wear their Dreamtime jumper in that game, and then a lot of the other clubs followed. So it was already kind of charged in that way. But in a footy sense, this was Hawthorn 2015. It's one of the best teams that we've ever seen.
They were pretty unstoppable.
They were.
Irritatingly unstoppable.
Yes, until they ran into you the next year, right?
We did stop the Hawthorn. But this isn't about the Dogs.
Anyway, but I remember Friday night, I turned up with no expectations as to what we could do, but we were a team that was kind of good. We've been in a couple of final series, not won any. But it was just like, we did it. And we did it we were never out of the game. A couple of really crucial goals. And I remember Bash actually kicking a goal that was extraordinary in that game, because the week before, he lost the game against Fremantle with a kick out. Remember, he went straight up the middle. Kane Lambert was waving his arms. He went straight up the middle, turnover, went back over ahead. We lost the game against Freo. Remember that? And then the following week he came out and he took those first couple of kick-ins, and then he kicked that huge goal later in the game. But how you have those wins where you wake up the next morning that you can't remember the world for a little bit, and then you remember the one and go, that's right, that's what happened last night. This was one of those wins. It really was. The whole match was a real grind, and we outground them. And it was at that moment I thought this team could actually do something. Then came 2016.
Number 3.
Round 4, 2019, Port Adelaide versus Richmond at the Adelaide Oval. Again, easy to forget, 2019 premiership year didn't start well. We'd lost Alex Rance to a knee reconstruction in what would turn out to be his last game in round 1. And then we went into this game and we just kept losing people. So Jack wasn't there, Cochin wasn't there. Basically, we were given very little hope because they were so central to everything that was meant to happen. And in that last quarter, that was the moment that Dylan Grimes became a generational backman. So we had Alex Rance and everyone rated him, but Dylan Grimes was always the understudy. Robin became Batman in that last quarter. He was extraordinary.
Nightwing?
Yeah, possibly.
Are we getting too nerdy?
Well, we can get into which particular. There are comic book threads where Robin becomes. Anyway, that's not important. But honestly, Dylan Grimes. This game is all about Dylan Grimes. And if there is one thing that a fan loves about their club, it's a backman. Because no one else pays attention, right?
That's true, yeah.
Name a backman in another team that isn't Darcy Moore. It's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
No,
How
don't
many
care
arguments have you had about how good Easton Wood was?
Yeah, oh man, yeah, that's so underrated.
Yes. So this is my point. And I think it was in that moment that we kind of thought, actually, maybe the season's not a write-off. Because in spite of the fact we've been really good for 2 years, we won a flag and a minor premiership, like the injury toll had gotten out of hand so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we just weren't sure that we would ever see this again. And that was the game that kind of made it possible.
Number 2.
Round 22, 2001, Essendon versus Richmond. I was completely astonished by this game. This was the unbeatable Bombers. They were on top of the ladder.
You were having a good season.
We had a good season,
which was very rare in those days. Yeah.
This wasn't ninthman. We were in the finals. But could we make the top 4? Well, the only problem is you're running into the Bombers.
Yeah. No one can beat the Bombers. No one.
No. Anyway, we beat the Bombers.
Hey.
And I still remember the score that we kicked, 17-5.
Oh, really?
I can't forget it because the kicking was ridiculous.
It's one of those days where you just can't miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more to the point, it was one of those days where Richo couldn't miss. So he was out of the...
he can do that not against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, that's a good point. Can we have the 10-goal performance against the... Can I
No.
Are you sure?
You beat the Bombers.
Let's talk about that. Bombers. And no one expected that we'd do it. And I remember sitting there with my mate after the game and we just sat there in shock looking at the MCG as it emptied. And we were like the last one. I think they had to move us on because we were just so... it's like feels like the stadium's reverberating with the aftershock of everything that's just happened. That's how it felt. And then I remember talking to some Essendon fans after that, and they said, we threw that game.
Yes!
And you know why I said it? Because the other great team in that year was Carlton. And Carlton was like the only team that could trouble Essendon. That was the theory. And so if we'd lost, they would have had to play Carlton. That was the theory. So they wanted to get us up into 4th place.
Of course. Well, that worked perfectly because Essendon went on to win that grand final.
But more to the point, but more to the point, they played us in the first week of the finals at the same time, same place, and they beat us by 70.
I love how we're doing a very happy Tigers video here and you keep bringing up negative things.
Well, but it's because so much of the best moments that Richmond had in the home and away season were surrounded by and couched by negative things.
And the number 1 Tigers win of the home and away seasons of the 21st century is...
Round 23, 2014, Sydney versus Richmond.
Yes.
This is unanimous, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think every Richmond fan would say this. And it's not just that we won against... what were they, top of the table?
If they weren't, they were really close. Yeah. And they were equal flag favourites with Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Like they were the two unstoppable sides.
And we're away.
Yeah. And you'd had a rubbish season for most of it, and then you went on a run.
So here it is, 3-10. And then we win 9 in a row.
Wow.
9 in a row to make the finals.
And with Richmond fans, you only need to win like 2 quarters and you're all just on the bandwagon. Here we go. We're finally in.
Yeah, totally.
It's Tiger time.
Greatest team in the world.
Yeah.
But 9 in a row where no one gave us a chance to do it. And I remember that game because we kicked the first 5 goals and I was like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then, of course, we conspired to erode that lead steadily throughout the remainder of the game until that last quarter when Alex Rance, that's probably the game that announced him as one. I mean...
Another backman?
Another backman. I think anyone who'd watched Alex Rance for a while knew this was a special backman. Like, on a level that you just so rarely see because he'd beat his man, then he'd beat the other guy's man, and then he'd be the rebounder. It was like to do all that at once was just ridiculous. But that was the game where he just was the wall. Sydney completely all over us in that last quarter, and he almost single-handedly repels us. It was just remarkable. But you just can't forget Dusty picking up the ball, half-forward flank, in a way he'd done against Adelaide not too long before that, the Adelaide Oval, and just charging his way towards goal and kicking the winning goal, the sealer. That is just a moment that every Richmond fan took to their hearts as the greatest thing they'd ever seen until they actually saw us do something in the finals. And after so many years of ninthment, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't even mentioned...
Because if you'd lost, you would have come ninth.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was all over. Do I need to put the addendum on, or is that me being too negative?
What's that?
Well, we came out in the first week of the finals and got blown away by Port Adelaide. It was all over at quarter time. Cochin kicked into the wind. I was there that day.
It was pretty awesome.
Shut up.
So that's the list. Tiger fans, I hope you enjoyed it. If you need a few moments to get yourselves ready, why don't you spend that time hitting like, subscribe, and all that crap that people write.
That's how I get ready for stuff.